If you want to make somebody obsessed with you, then this video is for you. Disclaimer, the tips used in this video are very toxic, so only use it on somebody that deserves it because it is guaranteed to work. Tip number 1.
Yeah, well, this is the beautiful thing. Use it on someone who deserves it. Well, who deserves it is subjective on the basis of what? How hurt you got or what you think they deserve. Usually this is dangerous stuff to be saying, but it's okay.
Never be too available. Act
Obviously,
as
classic.
if you were a busy person, even if you're not.
Obviously.
People naturally want things that they can't have.
Yeah.
So don't be too needy and don't jump at the first opportunity you get to hang out with them.
Yeah, this is classic, right? You're basically you're trying to incite some scarcity, right? Now the person is starting to be afraid, or you're trying to create a dynamic where you're trying to make the person afraid of losing you. And when you have that feeling of, oh, this person is disappearing, now it creates this thing in your mind where, oh, I don't want to lose them. I should probably reach out to them. So this will work really well on weak guys. So weak guys will obviously bite on this because they don't understand. They don't have healthy boundaries. This is precisely why I teach you guys to not respond to these types of games, right? Well, when I say don't respond, I mean, yeah, you're still playing the game, obviously, but you should be aware this is a tactic that some girls will try. Guys, it's a part of the modern dating climate. A lot of guys will say, oh, don't waste your time. I mean, my opinion, I don't think it's... I think a lot more girls than you think are going to be doing these things. And whatever, engage with it as you see fit. Me personally, as soon as I see it, I automatically just don't respond. Inevitably, eventually they respond because they're I'm basically calling their bluff. And then it works out anyway, right? Oh, okay, this guy's actually strong after all. It only raises your attraction in their eyes if you can bypass the fear response that you may get, right? Generally speaking, only the most attractive women are going to do this. Average women typically won't do it the same way. Just something to keep in mind. And this is the general rules, of course. There's always exceptions, man. There's always exceptions to everything. But anyway.
Tip number 2, and this one is probably the most important one. Be inconsistent. Inconsistency will literally have somebody losing their mind over you. One day, act completely interested. And then the next day, just like that, don't talk to them and act like you don't care. This will lead them to constantly be chasing the version of you that is most interested in them. Tip number 3, be unbothered. Hurt in silence, heal in private. This is all a mind game. And the moment that they realize how much you actually care, you already lost the game.
So, once again, this is sort of the same brand of I must dominate. Now, this girl's a little bit more aware, obviously. She's aware of the dynamic between, or the classic human dynamic in relationship. There always has to be a dom and a sub. This is natural. There can't be 2 doms and 2 subs. Never works, okay? So within relationships, there's always a dominant and a submissive. She's trying to teach you as a girl, essentially, how to get the dominant position. This is always the same story, just like the last clip. She's trying to teach girls how to be dominant. And this is their natural game. A lot of girls do this naturally because they're trying to find the most dominant guy. The guy that doesn't succumb to this game, right? So in a way, I don't even entirely blame her for doing this, as crazy as it sounds. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. They're going to say, oh, well, why are you encouraging game playing? Well, it's because a lot of guys are truly weak. Like, it's not that hard to not bite on this. If you have a little bit of self-confidence and self-worth, you're never going to bite on this. You're going to recognize this from a mile away. And once this initial game playing phase is over, you never know. She might actually catch feelings for you, right? But you have to be willing to go through the emotions. And this is a lot more common now than you can possibly imagine. So nothing new here. This is all stuff that I teach you guys about all the time.
And finally, tip number 4, have options. If you have backup plans,
Obviously,
then you will automatically not be as invested in this one person, and they're going to be able to notice that.
So here's the thing. Once again, all this actually works really well on weaker guys that are very feminine. It's going to work on them. A guy that's strong and masculine and good with women, has self-confidence, basically what I'm trying to teach you guys to be, right? this type of guy won't really care because he already understands every girl has options, right? It's not something remarkable to have. It's not a remarkable thing for a girl to have options. This is expected, right? Guys are so desperate these days. So if a girl wants options, it's 2 clicks away on her phone and she has hundreds. What the problem is, though, is a lot of girls will say, "Oh, but none of these options I care about." Doesn't matter. The fact that you have them gives you that scare or that abundance feeling that you don't have to be super invested in one guy right away. This is sort of the natural state of mind that all guys operate from anyways if they listen to what I say. So this shouldn't work, guys. These things shouldn't work on you. I'm trying to teach you this, right? I'm trying to teach you that girls are aware of the game and they're doing this sometimes passively. A lot of girls still do this automatically. This girl is just aware of her own nature and she's just playing it out right. Okay, she's looking for a guy that's going to bypass all these things. And if you look at it probabilistically speaking, very few guys actually manipulate this process because it's very difficult because they can't overcome the emotions of it. So the guys that end up actually bypassing this process are the guys that are probably pretty strong and have genuine abundance anyways, or self-confidence, self-worth. I mean, either you trick your mind into ultimate abundance or have genuine abundance. It has to be one or the other. If you know for sure you can be on zero, but you can get a girl whenever you want, that's one thing. Most of you guys aren't in that state. So when you're young, it's easier, obviously, to have numbers, to have the physical representation instead of the idea or the confidence that you can, if that makes sense. Long story short, this is stuff I teach you guys all the time. You should not be fazed by this when a girl does this to you. And this girl is pretty much giving you free game right here.
There are two things that men don't do while dating in this generation. And number one is giving a girl a compliment. For some reason, like maybe they think we hear it all the time or, oh, you probably get that all the time. No, not from you. And I want it from you.
Okay, yeah, so I'm really glad this video is about this. So yeah, what guys have realized is that compliments don't work. Okay, they just don't work. There's a few problems with compliments. Number one, yes, you guys do get compliments all the time. Like, I don't know why you're lying and you're saying, oh, but it's super specific when you do it. No, the only reason you probably like that guy is probably because he isn't showering you with compliments the moment he sees you the first time. Okay? Think about the nature of compliments, right? In the old days, it used to be a standard that you would go to a girl and say, I find you attractive. Okay, this is a courtship process. Now it's simply free validation, and girls will disqualify guys if they give them too much validation. And the reason they do this is because they subconsciously understand that guys that give endless validation probably don't have that many girls. Okay? This is just the reality of how it works. And a lot of guys are starting to catch on. They understand the fact that giving tons of compliments only drives girls away. Buying them flowers for the first date only makes them appear needy. Opening car doors makes girls look at the guy like he's being submissive. These are things that girls don't only take for granted, but they also see it as a sign of weakness. So guys are learning and adapting because they just don't have a choice. Anyway, let's continue on.
What happened to telling me I'm pretty? What happened to the good morning beautiful? Why is there
Okay, no. We're going to shut this down right away. This is so annoying. If you don't know this fact, then you should know. But in 2024, you do not send good morning or good night texts. Okay? This is not something you do. The reason is that 99% of the time, the only guys that are engaging in this practice are needy guys. The reason they do this is because their grandmother or dad taught them this is what you're supposed to do in some sort of standard courtship process. For every one girl that comes on the internet and lies about how she loves getting good morning texts, there's probably 100 that say it gives them the ick. Don't send good morning texts, guys. Now, I understand if you're dating for 3 or 4 years and it's a serious relationship and things are going well, maybe in that context, okay. That's a little bit different. But early on, this is a talking, dating phase video. Don't recommend it at all. You definitely should not do this. Unless you want to give them the ick, of course. And the ick list is growing by the day. So
always just good morning or good morning bum or good morning butt, whatever that may be? I want to be complimented. Even if I do hear it from absolutely everybody else, I want to hear it from you.
no, just because you want something doesn't mean you get it. Okay? Any real man understands this. You give a compliment when you genuinely want to, not because it's expected of you. Okay? Girls need to understand to value it when you do give it rather than expecting something all the time because they feel like they want it. It's sort of like grown-up toddlers, for being honest. It's really, really unflattering.
Why do none of the guys that date any of me or my friends ever compliment us?
Because those guys have probably learned the hard way that complimenting women doesn't really get you very far when it comes to getting what you want from them. Okay? That is simply the reason why. Are there exceptions? Maybe. You know, there probably is. In reality, there's always an exception. But overall, these days, giving compliments to women just doesn't pay you that well. It really doesn't. You give a compliment to a woman, and immediately she puts you in that category of this guy's trying to get with me or whatever. All the mystery is gone. There's no chase component anymore. And in most cases, it sort of ruins the dynamic. What I always tell you guys to do is if you're going to give a compliment, you give a compliment, then you give a backhanded critique right after. So a great example is, yeah, you're pretty, but you kind of talk too much. When you give them a compliment in this way, you're not giving them the huge ego boost because you're countering with a negative right away. And before someone comes in the comments and says, oh, but you're just playing games, girls have been running the game for the last 30 years. Okay, so before guys start getting in the comments or girls start coming in the comments saying, oh, well, you shouldn't be playing the game. No, you have to play the game. The only way to survive the current context is countering game with game. Okay, you can't kill girls with kindness and expect them to actually like you. It just doesn't work this way in reality. And any real guys know this.
I've always said, like, I want a nice guy. Well, I've never said that. I've always been into, like, the heads or, like, the bags of the male community. But because I was so traumatized by them, I'm sitting there being like, I want a nice man. Like, why can't a guy just come to my life and be so nice and, like, be obsessed with me? And then I find, like, a guy that's really nice, and I am so thrown off. Like, I really did find a guy who's, like, super nice. Like, the most respectful, like, anything I really need, like, he's gonna do it for you. And I'm sitting there like, like, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. I do want a healthy relationship. Okay, I really do. More than anything, that's what I want. But I think I just still need a guy who, like, gives me a run for my money. Like, if you say a joke and I, like, say something back and they're like, no, that was just a joke. Yeah, I know it was a joke. You can sit there and dish it out again. Like, it's fine. I'm so the problem because, like, you're nice. Like, literally, like, Connor from Love Island vibes. But, like, it's just too nice.
Okay, this is a rare situation where you have a girl that's telling you the truth about what girls want, right? This girl is not unique in any way, shape, or form. She's just being honest, right? For a change. When it comes to girls, guys, it always boils down to value. Okay, she needs to feel that you're valued higher than she is. Now, I know it sounds contradictory, but here's how it works. When you're the super nice guy and you're willing to do everything and you're offering unconditional love, the truth is, the reason you're offering that is because you don't have anybody else and you have no experience with women. The reason they don't respect unconditional love is because they themselves can't give unconditional love. They project what they do onto guys because they know deep down that they can't love a guy without prerequisites. Certain amount of height, certain amount of income potential, a specific style of dressing maybe. The ick list is growing every single day. But these are things that have always existed, it's just that girls now have less tolerance because standards have been inflated beyond proportion. At this point, being a nice guy signals weakness. Because every guy is a nice guy. Is not special in any way. He doesn't give them any level of excitement or that feeling that they have to chase him a little bit to maintain him. And all healthy feminine women want to feel this at least a little bit when they're with a guy. If you give them everything for free, you're not setting yourself up frame-wise to be a disciplinarian. To be a good dad, right, or to be a strong father figure, you need to know where the boundaries are. And if you can't set boundaries on your woman, probably won't do a good job setting boundaries on your children either. Being a bad guy is also correlated with having a lot of drive. When you're a really driven guy and you really want to get stuff, you get burned. You get burned over and over again because you realize people are only out for themselves, and you have to be very, very particular when you're moving up in the game. When you're doing that, you have to naturally build up a hardened exterior, a little bit of a shell, because you have to protect yourself from everyone around you. You really don't know who your enemies or your friends are because a lot of people would rather see you fail than succeed. When girls experience a nice guy, the main reason they can't fall deep in love with this guy is because they know deep down on a subconscious level that this guy is not fit for survival like the other guy. Being a nice guy in most situations means you require the group to survive. On the flip side, the bad guy has a better chance of surviving on his own. And that's the whole point. I know a lot of guys really hate this concept, but it's just the reality that's always existed. Before, girls had to make this compromise because they still needed their survival needs to be met. Now, because they can meet their own survival needs, they really don't need that guy to sit around and make them bored. They'd rather chase the better guy and simultaneously have a career where they're supplying themselves with their own source of money. Or in this case, survivability, their own apartment, etc., etc. I don't necessarily like the way the game is, guys, but this is just the reality of what is.
Why do they all of a sudden want to just write letters like it's the 18th century? Don't get me wrong, texting has its place, the little tease of liking someone's Instagram story, but me personally, I don't want a pen pal. I want to hang out. You might be like, oh, like men are just...
In case you're wondering, by the way, when she says she wants to hang out, it means she wants to have sex, okay? In case that wasn't clear yet. It's funny too, because this is a perfect example of how girls layer these things. They want you only for sex, but they're not going to ever say it, and you can't insinuate it either. You have to play into this game, because if you don't, they're going to look like a hoe. And if they look like a hoe, they're going to get turned off, and they're going to blame you for making them feel that way. So what you have to do is you have to perpetually play into this game where they're not just using you for sex, but they are just using you for sex. They aren't a hoe because they want this, and they may want something in the future, but it's unclear. I really feel that this point exactly is so difficult for guys to understand. It's this exact point that gets into that insane logic of girls want guys to manipulate them. Girls want the intimacy, but there's so many social restrictions around it that they want you to simultaneously play that surface level game while also understanding what's going on behind the scenes, but never addressing it and never talking about it, and still always dealing with the emotional fallout when it happens. It doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of guys, but that's just how it is. And that's something you have to deal with if you want to entertain women in this way.